Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up. Good luck.
Who the fuck is
Larry Flowers?
I'm gonna trade this life for fortune and fame. I'll even cut my hair and change my name. Cause we all just wanna be big rock stars and living.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I am Larry Flowers. This is my podcast, the Fair But Firm podcast, but it's never quite the same without my boy, Colin Thompson. Colin, what's up, man? First of all, thanks everyone for tuning in again. The listeners has been climbing and climbing. We're growing a little bit here. It's getting exciting. So yeah, now it's very exciting. Very exciting. In the very beginning, I would always say to you, it's an old joke that Shane O'Brien from Missing Curfew used to say when he first started Missing Curfew. We used to always go out and get drunk and have a good time when he first started the podcast. And he would always look at us all and he'd have a nice buzz going and he'd look at us and he'd say, and this is great. He'd say, we're like, O'Brien, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. And he said, Flowers, no one's listening. And that was his old joke. And we'd all die laughing. And, look, they've gotten really big now and they're continuing to grow. So I feel like I'm kind of like the baby version of that right now. We're getting there now, one step at a time.
And I'm constantly saying, stop looking at the numbers. Stop, unless they're good, which you had a big one. The Sidney Crosby video where you came out and you talked about how Sidney Crosby verbally said, I hate this place in regards to Philadelphia and the Philadelphia fan base and the Philadelphia Flyers and all those good things. That took off and that did really well. And it went hundreds of thousands of views on all the platforms. So, yeah, listen, I've done these pods. I've probably been a part of the creation, the continuation, the start, the finish of about 20 of them. And you have to be patient. And I always say, give it a year because you could come out swinging for a year and then get burned out. You could ease into it and not give it enough. You just got to be consistent for a year, just about, and have some fun with it. And that's what we're trying to do here. And you kind of see what comes of it, right? People are going to be knocking on your door for opportunities. You're a smart man, a great businessman that has lots of opinions. We're going to get into some today. I'm excited for lots to talk about, Larry. There's so much to talk about.
What's interesting is, and I had a conversation about this with Scotty Upshaw, and who's also part of the Missing Curfew podcast. And what I started to realize was doing the podcast, to me, when we started was, okay, I've got to have a lot of things to say. I've got to know about all the things I'm talking about. Obviously we talk a lot about Philadelphia sports and what goes on in my life and lifestyle and stuff like that. And so I've got to be on my game and I've got to be a professional, which I do. But what I've started to realize is this podcast has almost become therapeutic to me, like talking to you and talking to friends and being able to express myself. Every time I finish recording, I kind of sit back for a second. I'm like, man, that felt really good because it's really important and it's really a good thing to be able to talk, express yourself, say what's on your mind. I think that in today's society, there's much less of that because of social media. I mean, when people make videos, they're all pre-produced and there's a lot of
real life.
It's not real life. And people communicate on their keyboards now. They comment on pictures and videos and everyone's got a voice and, people block themselves. So you don't know who they are. So my point is doing this podcast has become an opportunity for me to really speak about what I want to talk about, talk about my life. And, again, people are continuing to jump in and listen. And I'm grateful to you all. And I'm grateful to you to always give me your time, Colin. And it's been great. And it feels good. And so let's keep it rocking.
Amen to that, brother. Amen.
Right.
I firmly believe in community. And I think we're losing community in this world, right? There's a lot of things going on in this world right now. And I think lack of community for kids, adults, you got to find it. You got to find one. You got to get in it and you got to keep, banging on it, if you will, because that's it. That's what we as people, right, is like get together, have fun. That's what this pod's for, right? You're in LA. I'm in Annapolis, Maryland. We do a pod together on a weekly basis. So that's enough preaching for me. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot we can go into.
Where you at, Larry? You got a new place? You got a new place?
Yeah. A lot of exciting things going on in my life. I just moved. I'm back in the Beverly Hills area. I've been downtown LA for a long time when my business exploded, 6, 7 years back. Obviously I've been in business for a long time, but about, in 2019 with the Blue Story, I was doing a lot of business before that, of course. But when that happened, my company really blew up. And so I made a conscious decision to leave Beverly Hills, go downtown LA, which is close to my office. And it was a great decision. It kept me close to my office. I walked to my office, which is a hell of a convenience. But downtown LA has changed in many ways, and I just felt like I was ready for a change. I moved into a beautiful place in Century City, just outside of Beverly Hills. Literally, I could walk to Century City Mall. I'm 2-minute drive from Rodeo Drive, and it's very, very exciting. Rocky's excited. He's running around the new place. It's a great neighborhood. I've been walking Rocky nonstop because now it's nice to go and walk around in a real nice neighborhood and around beautiful homes, where, living downtown LA, once I got home from the office, I generally wouldn't take him outside. It's just, there's some sketchy people and some sketchy things, and you got to kind of step over, whether it be dog or human feces in the streets, and deal with some other funky shit. But those days are behind me now, and we move on. But yeah, very exciting.
Hey man, listen, I'm happy for you. Now where's going to be the local watering hole? That's always my first question, right? You're moving, the area. Yeah. Where are you going to go to get some drinks, some dinner? That's what I want to know.
Well, so it's just, as far as dinners, it's all the same places. Cicconi's, Cipriani's, and El Pastaio in Beverly Hills, and all the other fine restaurants in LA that I've been going to for years. LA's got great food. As far as going out for drinks, I gotta be honest, I haven't really been going out that much. It's more like when I'm drinking, it's usually with friends at my friends' houses. Now, a couple of my closest friends have houses that even those who are ultra successful could never in a million years afford. I have the amazing luxury of being able to go to those places because they host quite often. One of those places is, one of my best friends, Cody Leibel, has a beautiful house up in Beverly Park. He just had a big birthday party for his son. Happy birthday, Logan. Happy 6th birthday. That's my boy. Beautiful, beautiful home. And then Kevin Washington has another house right on Riviera, which is as nice a house as you ever find. I mean, if you can imagine what 75 million gets you, that's what he's got. So,
can't imagine.
Yeah, and then listen, I'm really close to the 10 and the 405 freeways, so I can bounce. I can go either way. I can go straight down to Santa Monica. I can get on the 405 and buzz down to Orange County. I got a lot of
guess.
I
want to guess your car. I don't want you to tell me what you have.
You want to guess what car I'm driving?
Yeah, I'm going to guess. I'm going to try to guess.
Go ahead.
I think you're a road.
Don't think 28-year-old, 30-year-old Larry Flowers. You got to think 45-year-old Larry Flowers.
So you're in a Rover. You got to be in a Rover, bro.
In a Range Rover?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. I just bought my new Range Rover. I bought it in the summer. I bought it in August. Good call. I got the dog.
That's the LA starter pack, right?
It is.
You get a watch from Larry Flowers. And you get your Rover from X dealership at Beverly Hills.
Well, I have the dog. I have the golf clubs. I got the hockey bag when I'm skating. So I needed a little bit more room. I was going to go.
How many times a year does that bag get dusted off, that hockey bag?
Yeah. You know what? Not as much lately as I used to, but I really need to start to get back on the ice. I love skating. The problem is this. So when I was a young hockey player, there were plenty of players that were better than me. I was a good player. But there was almost no one that was as fast as me. I had legs. I could run like the wind. I mean, I would race people on football fields for money, including guys that played on University of Pittsburgh's football team, wide receivers. I would race anyone that would race me for money because they look at me as a 5'10" white boy and they're like, fuck, let's go. And usually I dust them. So my point is I was always really, really fast. And the real problem is when I skate now, and you have these young kids that are out of college for a few years that played, good hockey, and they're playing in, the Bruckheimer skates in LA, or the CAA skates in LA. These kids are just flying by me. I don't have the legs anymore, and it's very frustrating. Hockey's a game where you lose your legs, it's over. It's, it's just I can't keep up with these young kids anymore. And for a guy whose game was predicated on speed, it was it's hard to get out there with the young guys. But if I get my legs stronger and I get back on the ice a little bit more consistent, I'm sure I can. That said, listen, anytime I get out there, I still look good. At least I look good, which is the most important thing. I always look good.
I tell you what, I was impressed by Obi. I talked about this before at that Avalanche alumni thing they did up at that looked beautiful, by the way. I'd love to go out to that one, check that out, support that cause. But Obi moves good, dude. I was shocked.
Obi does move. He's a big man, but he does move well. He's an athlete. He's big bone. But yeah, on the ice, he still moves. He's smooth. He can handle the puck. He can move the puck, and he can still skate.
No doubt, dude. No doubt about it. All right, so you want to talk about some birds? You want to talk about? We were talking about NHL playoffs. Which direction you want to go here, Larry?
I mean, let's listen. Let's talk about the birds. Let's talk about the birds a little bit. We've already kind of, on the last episode, we talked about some of the free agent signings: Bryce Huff, Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond, Matt Hennessy, Parker, Gardner Johnson, which I absolutely love. That's one of my favorite pickups in the offseason, including others. But let's talk about the draft a little. I mean, wow. Is Howie Roseman, has he become the best GM in the NFL? And a better question is, could you make a case that Howie Roseman is the best GM of the decade?
I think he would be the hot pick. I think you have to pick somebody with what the Niners are doing. Yeah. With the Purdy pick, the last pick, your quarterback ends up being a Pro Bowler. That roster is sick. I would say the Chiefs as well. They have a real tight ship.
Let's go back to Brock Purdy real quick.
Ravens.
Love the kid. Love his game. Good player. Good player. I mean, what a story. Little bit of a system quarterback, if you ask me. I mean, he's not really a guy that's going to put the team on his shoulders and kind of listen, better than me. But when you look at Brock Purdy, even after his recent success, if you're a GM in the NFL and you've got a handful of guys, he's probably not in your top 10, right?
Answer this question honestly.
Yes.
If you switched Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott, what would Dallas look like and what would the Niners look like?
That's a really good question. It's a really tough question. I don't know. I'm of the mindset where there's just so many factors in football that lead to results, whether it be a fumble, a pick, one play can change a game. One bad call can change a game. So I don't really know. That's a great question. I think Dak Prescott's unbelievable. I think he's a great player.
I think the Niners win a lot of Super Bowls. Now, I'm not thinking Purdy holds him back. I don't think Purdy holds him back per se, but I think if Purdy goes to Dallas, I think Dallas isn't what they are either.
I mean, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I love Purdy. I think he's a good player, but they're loaded. So to get back to the GM question.
Loaded. Exactly.
Loaded. I would say, yeah, Howie's probably the pick because, he brings in players. He's aggressive at the deadline. He brings in, right, even 2 drafts, right? Like they kind of fall to him. Plus he traded, like they've done a lot. They took the top 2 corners with their first 2 picks, 22 and 40. And then, they traded to Washington. They traded the next second round pick, right? They're just moving things back. They're gaining more capital for next year. I love that.
If you remember, I said I really felt like Howie Roseman realizes that this is his opportunity this year. The Eagles are really, really good and they're really weak in certain areas. And I felt like Howie was going to make a move and move up and really address the D-backs, which he did. Funny enough, I was on my group chat with Sean and the boys. I was on record saying I want them to draft Cooper DeJean first. as their first D-back. I just love his game. I've watched him a lot actually over at Iowa. Tough kid, can kick return, smart. What an athlete! I just like the intangibles. I think that's really who I wanted. And for Mitchell to fall in their lap like that, I mean, it basically comes down to Atlanta drafting Penix, right?
Penix, yes, and a move that's a lot of people were worried about. I made it clear on my show yesterday that I was like, what are they doing right away? But it makes sense. Listen,
it does make sense. It's very similar to what Howie Roseman did with Jalen Hurts, if you think about it.
Yes, very much so. Now that was second-round pick, and Jalen Hurts had a lot of question marks around him. This Penix guy is really no question marks other than some maybe injuries. But I love the move because now you're guaranteed a quarterback for the next 6 years. And they're really hard to find. And how many times are you going to draft in the top 10 if you think you're a playoff team? Not really in a poor division. So,
I mean, I believe it was you who made a hell of a point. Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have started, I think, in the last year, right? Because guys go down.
66 last year and 68 the year before. 32 jobs. So, right, times it by 2. Each team on average is 2 guys are going to play per team.
The only question mark is his health. Obviously, he's had some pretty serious injuries, including what I believe it was his shoulder, right?
He's had his shoulder. He's had some injuries with his pins, his knees. But for me, Larry, I love it. He's going to just hang out behind Kirk Cousins. And another thing, like I said on my clip that you saw, when you have it come back from an Achilles injury, just like a pitcher, when you come back, you're on a pitch count. Hey, Kirk, we're going to get you 10 really good reps today, and then you're done. You're going to go with the strength staff. You're going to go run on the side, controlled environment, build that stamina up, right? And then you may be off the next day. Then he may have a huge day where you do everything in practice. And the next day you're off. So you need a quarterback to come in that can run an offense. That guy can do more than run an offense.
He sure can. He's a good player, very good player.
Yep. And Kirk's the guy for it, right? Like there's no drama with Kirk. He's making 100%. A ton of money. He's like, let's do it, baby. And I think it's a great. I love it.
I don't hate it either. I mean, listen, if you're Kirk Cousins, obviously you're thinking, man, I want a weapon, and I get that. But if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you're thinking, this isn't a 1-year season. Like we're thinking long term. We love the kid. We think he's a bright guy. He's smart. He's athletic. He can throw the ball.
And what if Kirk gets hurt? And what if he doesn't come back from the Achilles and the season's over? I mean. I said it, Gardner Minshew saved the Colts last year. They were like, supposed to not even be good before the year. They were sneaking into the playoffs. Look at Joe Flacco and the Browns. I mean, shit, Browns are like one of the better teams in the league at some one point in time under Joe Flacco. So,
yeah. I mean, on the flip side of that, if Kirk goes down, you basically spend how much money? What was his deal?
But you can't bank on guys. You got to protect guys from getting hurt, but it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
You're going to get hurt. It's the injury is 100% foolproof. But for the Eagles draft, they took 2 players, the 2 best corners available within the top 40 picks. They got them, right? Pretty much. There's one guy who was else taken. I love the move. How's it going to, and we'll keep moving through the draft here. But my question to you, Larry, is how do you think it's going to fit with the roster? I think the kid at Toledo is going to start. I think the Gene's going to come in and out, play a little nickel. He'll play some safety. He can play some corner. Bradbury and Slay will still stay on the roster because they're too much of a dead cap hit to be off of it. And now you got like 4 really good guys, 2 veterans and 2 young guys kind of playing 4 spots.
And what's his name? Sanders, right? From the Colts?
Yeah, the kid with the gambling.
Listen.
People love him.
I'm telling you, this kid is a hell of a player. Shout out again, my boy Tim Janaris. I love giving him shout outs because I love him, but he's a diehard Colts fan. He's from Indianapolis, and he's told me a lot about him. He watches every game. He's a player, and he's got a lot to prove this year. That's going to be a silent, big-time pickup. I think there's going to be a lot of noise midway through the season, like, oh, my God, I can't believe the Eagles got him. The Eagles, just like that, in one fell swoop, D-backs look like they're in line. I mean, I don't see a weakness on this team. There's really not. The only thing that could technically go wrong is maybe the injury bug, which is obviously it's the NFL. Guys can go down. But on paper right now, I mean, I don't see it. Listen to this. Eagles 2024 futures odds by ESPN Bet. Super Bowl odds 15-1. Total wins 10.5. You're going under or over?
I'm going over.
I'm going over too. 10.5. This team
I go 11.
Stacked.
Yeah, I think what happened last year concerns people because Sirianni's still there, right? Like That was an implosion. Now, I will say this, and Charles Barkley hit the nail on the head when he's talking about the Lakers and the Suns, and we had a really good clip. Off announcing tweeted it. And it was like, hey, man, Frank Vogel's a good basketball coach. The guy with the Suns, the guy with the Lakers, they're good basketball coaches. The players are playing like crap. And like I always say, we were part of it in Carolina. We had some good teams there. Everyone's like, no, you weren't. We played like crap, period. At the end of the day, like when you play like crap, that's not on the coach. It's not on the coach. That's on you. But the problem with football is heads don't roll, man, that are players. The coaches roll, and that's just how it goes.
Shout out Sean Handler. Me and him have had some tremendous debates over Nick Sirianni. I'm of the mindset that he's gotten you to the promised land, and you can't can him 1 year after. Total meltdown last year, but it's on the players. I mean, if you really watch the game, in my opinion, it seemed like they did not have the personnel late in the season. Their D-backs were just not up to par.
I think they got a little cute offensively, which that's Sirianni's world. They were bringing a lot of pressure.
Totally.
They were bringing a lot of pressure, and they weren't bringing more people in to protect. They were trying to spread people out and have Jalen out throw it. That's not Jalen's game. Eagles are a team that plays better not from behind, but from in front. It's how they're built, especially defensively with the pass rushers. Yeah.
The argument about the other side of the argument about Nick Sirianni is that he's not a defensive or an offensive coordinator. He's just kind of a coach.
Yes.
I personally don't have a problem with that. Like, a coach is basically, he's the general. He's in there. He's got his pieces in place in place to run his offense. He's got pieces in place to run his defense. I get it. There's people that want a head coach who understands and can be a defensive coordinator, can be an offensive coordinator. But, Nick Sirianni proved that with the right coaches around him, that he can succeed. Now he's doing the hiring. Last year was his staff. Now the staff has changed. I think you have to give Nick another chance, which is why they did it. I'm happy for it. I think he's foaming at the mouth right now. I think he's got good coaches in place. I can't imagine any Birds fan not being as excited as they've ever been in their lives as this upcoming season. I mean, 8-1 to win the NFC, minus 190 to make the playoffs. I mean, please.
Yeah.
Plus 130 to win the NFC East. I mean, I hammer that too.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing that people are not discussing, because, they're fans and they're thinking about fantasy and they're watching some highlights and they're watching snippets, is folks do not understand how good Saquon Barkley is. Okay. This guy is one of the best players in the NFL, period. Injuries. I think is like what had the, I don't do numbers and all that stuff, but I know in offensive line wise, they had a ton of injuries up there over the years, and that's never good for a running back.
Yep.
Passing game wise, how many wide receivers can you name for the New York Giants if you're not a Giants fan listening to this podcast? Right. So defensively, how many players can you name on that roster if you're not a Giants fan? Right. Back in the day, man, whether you like the Giants or not, you can name a lot of Giants players because they had a really good team.
You're totally right about that. Good point.
So at the end of the day, you're getting a player who is ready to rip and is really damn good. Penn State local boy. People love all that stuff. He's from Whitehall, just past my area. But to move the draft along, how he keeps trading back, getting draft picks next year. They take a reach of a kid, the kid Hunt out of Houston Christian.
Yes.
He's an Ivy League kid, really freakishly
really
long.
Smart, really good kid. They say he's an outstanding human being.
Yeah. He's a project.
Exactly. But potential upside is through the roof.
And they don't need him.
You got to trust the Philadelphia Eagles in working with young players and building them up, just like they did Mailata. Let me ask you a quick question. Kind of flip the page real quick. Who do you think's a better late draft pick as far as a free agent? Well, I think Purdy was the last pick of the draft, right?
I know where you're going with this.
Or Mailata.
Mailata was Mailata was a 7th round pick, so was Purdy.
Who do you take? Who do you think? Who do you think? Who would you take if you could only have one and you don't have a quarterback? You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a left tackle.
Purdy.
Really? There's no way. No way.
You don't have a quarterback in this league, you're dead in the water.
Those type of left tackles with that type of size and athleticism, they just
He's
don't
good, but he's not that good.
Really?
He's really good, but he's not.
He's still young, man. He's still a project.
I'm not saying
he's not.
Listen,
but
it's a tough question. It makes me sound like I don't like Jordan. I think Jordan is incredible. First off, guy never played football until he touched American soil like 5 years ago.
Yeah, think about that where he is now. That's what you got to think about. He's still young.
I think he's a Pro Bowler. Okay, perennial. Okay,
totally is.
Don't get me wrong, but I rather have say Jordan. Say let's just go out of 10. If you could rank the player, say Jordan Mailata is or let's just go Madden out of 100. Say Jordan Mailata is an 89th overall player at left tackle, but Brock Purdy's an 85 overall at quarterback. I just take the quarterback. You have to. You have to. It's like the conversation in hockey. Take it to the hockey side, where people are trying to justify the whole Draisaitl thing, right? Even though we're losing an all-time American-born player in what's his name? I went to the Ducks.
Gauthier. Gauthier.
Okay, the BC product. So at the end of the day, would you rather have a premier right shot defenseman that can skate, or would you rather have a premier right wing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on record saying I think the Flyers. I think it's going to hurt the Flyers for a long time.
I know that, but I'm talking about position.
Yeah. Okay.
Position value. You take a little bit lesser of a player at a higher ranked position, right? Because they're hard to find. That's a great debate. Listen, I think Jordan Mailata is a great player.
It goes back to conversations that I've had often with Joffrey Loophole, and we've had a lot of debates about certain players who got traded. I think one of the conversations was about Taylor Hall, who was a 40-goal scorer at the time, and he got traded. And there were some guys in our group that were saying that's a good trade. Like, they didn't need Taylor Hall. And then me and Loops were on the other side of that coin saying the guy scored 40. Like, the bottom line is you scored 40. Like, those guys don't grow off. They're hard to find.
You can't take it away from him. You can't take it. There's no potential there. You can't take that away from him. He did what he did. It's unbelievable what he did. I agree. Do you take my opinion? At a more important position, you could take a little bit lesser talent, right? You need a goalie in hockey, okay? You need one. You may have to pay one a little bit more than what you want to, but you need one, right? Look at the Bobrovsky situation in Florida, even if we start to pivot to hockey now. Like, that dude's worth every penny, and they knew it, right? It's just like quarterbacks. I think Jalen Hurts is worth every penny. If you line him and Bob up and compare, right? Bob had some down years. Bob had some down games. Totally. So is Jalen. But I'm betting on Bob. I'm betting on Jalen Hurts to get the job done. That's why this year for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts just get better. Another year of repetition. He's played like 4 years in the league. That's the problem with Penix too. Everyone's like, he's got to be a starter. Why?
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Look at Jordan Love in Green Bay. They took a page right out of that book.
Patrick Mahomes. He's set.
I mean, that's how you learn, right? I mean, it's hard. The NFL is hard. The NFL is hard. And what happens? The majority of really high pick quarterbacks out of draft, like really, really high, top 10 picks, when they get plugged in, they usually don't do that great.
They're with bad teams.
You're on a bad team. There's still a learning curve. I don't care who you are. It's a learning curve. The NFL is significantly faster, bigger, stronger. More competitive. I'm with you. Let's keep going down this draft a little bit here. Listen, I think Gainwell's a nice player. I don't think he's become what we thought he would be, or is. I just think he's slightly. I don't think he's as good as we hoped he would be. And I'm interested in your opinion on this Will Shipley. I mean, I've watched him play obviously a lot of Clemson. Dynamic player, can do a lot of different things, can catch the ball. Not great, obviously, between the tackles, but I think the Eagles are gonna miss Boston Scott. I think he was underutilized last year. He's a good player. He's a little bowling ball. He's fast. He hits the hole really hard, and he's strong. Again, I think he was severely underutilized last year. Good luck moving on, Boston Scott. You were a great Eagle.
LA.
Yeah, exactly. I get to watch him here in LA. And I think he's going to be really, really good in LA.
These depth running backs, Larry, they just cycle through, man, every year.
I know.
They just do, man. They're just very few, right? Like, they're all, I don't want to say they're the same guy because they're all different players. But at the end of the day, they're all the same cat. They just roll through. They're really good for a couple of years, and then they move him off for they go make a little bit of money elsewhere, and then they draft a guy behind him. And that's what I see with this kid out of Clemson. I love that pick. The Anais Smith pick. I was with some SEC guys this weekend. They're like, that kid's a really good player. And these aren't guys that are like ultra. They're like, no, he's good. And then of course, right, like we're going to say the Trotter thing for last year. I want to talk about the Keegan kid. Do you see him like really jacked up wearing an Eagles jersey? The kid out of Michigan.
And he plays mean. And
he chugs beers. You see him on the float.
He's mean.
I like the beer part better.
I know, right?
Johnny
2.0, hopefully.
I love it. And then, of course, they took Johnny Wilson, the receiver, and Dylan McMahon at the end at NC State. Like, you know how these guys are. And then undrafted wise, they made some nice little moves too. So I like what the Eagles did. But most importantly, the Trotter Jr. pick was really cool. Do you see Jeffrey Lurie, how emotional he was? He was crying.
Well, sure. That's what separates certain organizations
100%.
And the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not saying the Eagles are the only organization, but they really, really understand the value of connecting with the fans, the value of having a family first mentality and atmosphere within the organization. Everyone I've ever talked to who's a part of the organization, including my boy Clark, who works for the Eagles, really good friend of mine. We talk Eagles football nonstop. And
is that our boy that we went out with?
Our boy Clark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's a great kid. He's a great guy.
We ripped it up.
And he made it pretty clear to me that within the NovaCare and within the organization, there's just a real family feel to the organization. Unlike a lot, they're not saying other organizations don't do the same thing. I'm not saying everyone does, but the Eagles certainly do it. There's an incredible connection with the city. Jeremiah Trotter is an all-time Eagles legend. And to have his son come in, you're going to, immediately, if you're Howie Roseman, not only you're getting a really good player, but you're getting a player that's going to play probably just a little harder for you.
Yep. I think it'd probably be, I don't know much about him, and this is not scouting, but I don't know if he's a starter, right? Or he wouldn't have went in the 5th round, but he'll probably be a great depth piece, special teams guys. Like one of my buddies is there, Sean Bradley. He's had injuries over his career. Temple guy, like 4th or 5th round.
Apparently a good character guy. You need good character guys. You need good character guys.
Those Super Bowl teams had tons of them.
Yeah, being a legacy player, like he's going to come in and he must be so appreciative to be part of the organization. It's an incredible story. He's going to be welcomed in with open arms, not only by the organization, but by the fans alike. And he gets to step in on a really good team. So if it takes him a couple of years to kind of find his niche and his spot and earn a starting role on the team, then that day will come. But it's really, really exciting. What a draft. Every analyst across the board have the Eagles, at the very least as an A- grade for the draft. Howie Roseman has been doing a phenomenal job. There was a lot of criticism about Howie back in the day that he's not great at drafting. But the thing about Howie, when I look at Howie from the outside, is it's a reflection of life, right? Human beings, no matter what they do in life, they go through trials and tribulations. You do well, you fail, you do well, you fail. But it's like the model. It's like the business model, even for us, like even for me in my business. Anybody that thinks the line goes on the chart goes straight up for success is being unrealistic with themselves. Yep. The chart's always up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, right? Like the stock market. So like my point is Howie has gone through so much. So he's got so much experience now, mistakes he's made, thinks he's done right, thinks he could have done better. I think he's really, really, he's in the zone. He is in the fucking zone. I'm in the fucking zone. Shout out. White Man Can't Jump. Great movie. I'm in the fucking zone.
Speaking of zone, we want to move to someone who's in the zone. Tyreek Maxey. How are you, bud?
Oh, what a player. What a player. What a player. I don't remember who it was talking about him. I just saw a clip about him in the offseason where they went to the gym where a bunch of NBA guys were about to work out. And it was 9 a.m. And the guy was talking to his to Maxey's trainer or to his coach that he was working with. And he's like, yeah, who's this kid? Maxey. Really? Wow. This is third workout of the day. He says, what do you mean it's his third workout of the day? He's like, this is every day like this. This is his third workout. He said, it's 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. He says, yeah. He got here at 6, had a workout, took a little break, got some treatment, went out, had another workout, got some treatment, took a break. 9 a.m., third workout of the day. The kid is a workhorse. The kid has the right stuff. He's got the right mentality. And that last game was really something special. Sixers Knicks tonight is going to be electric at the Wells Fargo Center. But this kid is really, really special. I mean, he can make every shot. He's dynamic, unbelievable ball handler. He saved the Sixers season. It's really, it's refreshing to have that type of player kind of point as your point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's going to be here for a long time coming now. And yeah, they better beat the fucking Knicks and go to 7 here. They need to win this game. Fuck the Knicks fans. Those Knicks fans coming into Philly, acting a fool. And you know what? I respect it. That's what makes the rivalry great. Philly, New York. It's one of the great rivalries as far as cities is concerned in any sport. I love it. It's good for the game. But I think tonight is a different story. If you're a Knicks fan and you're going to come into the Wells Fargo Center and you're going to act up and you're going to yell and you're going to act like a fool, I would be a little bit cautious because I think it's safe to say that Philadelphia fans were embarrassed from the last outing at home, and I don't think that's going to happen again.
Prediction.
What's my prediction of the game?
Yeah.
I think Sixers win tonight. I really do. I think they've got some mojo going. I think Embiid didn't really get off last game. Obviously, I think Embiid's hurt. He's playing hurt. He's everything and more that you want in an athlete. I mean, he plays through everything he can at least. But, you know, I think last game he had 20-something, right? I think he comes home tonight. I think they really go Embiid heavy and Maxey, and hopefully Harris can drain some threes. And I think at home they take care of business. And then let's see what happens Game 7 in New York.
What a great place to watch a ball game, too, Madison Square Garden. Oh, come up on the train, come up through the train on there. My favorite hockey game ever. I don't know if you remember this. It was Rangers Flyers. My dad took me to the game. We sat on the glass. Never forget it. And Roman Czechmanek was in net, R.I.P.
Yep.
And he did this. We were right on the post. And he did the swing, the flip, if you will, and kicked his leg up and rolled up on his back. And
oh,
boom.
Yeah.
And our jaws were on the ground.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. It was something I'll never forget. It was something I'll never forget.
You know, a lot of the guys that I talk to, they say playing in New York is like nothing else. When you're playing at the Garden, it's just a different type of energy. Yeah, they say that quite a bit about LA as well. I'm sure playing in front of Lakers fans is also an incredible experience. But, you know, people forget because the Knicks, right? The city of New York, I don't care who you are or what you say. I'm a diehard Philly guy, Philly basketball, Philly high school basketball. AAU is as good as anywhere in the world. But if you had to pick one city and attribute that city as the godfather of basketball, you have to say New York, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Knicks, they've been disappointing for so long. For a city like New York and their main team in the New York Knicks to have been so unsuccessful as far as winning championships and stuff for so long, to see where they are now, that's the way basketball should be. I think it's great for the NBA.
Yep.
They should be good every single year. I can't believe that they don't get more superstars that go over there. I mean, maybe that'll change.
Well, there's some dysfunction now, but I'll tell you what, man, you bring these Villanova guys in, dysfunction goes away. Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, and everyone rolls their eyes, but it's true. It's true. And Arcidiacono, my buddy's there on the end of the bench. He was a leader of those teams, and they won the national titles. Like, it is true. Those guys are different, right? It's just like Alabama boys in football. Totally. Just like the Temple guys that I went to college with. I was an undrafted player with the New York Giants. I'm a nobody. Evan Ingram was the first pick, first tight end, top 10. I'm a 40. He got 10 million. I got 4,500 as a signing bonus. Okay. And down the hallway, Evan Ingram and I are walking next to each other. And one of the coaches screams, "Temple tough. Let's go, baby. Love having you." And Evan Ingram's right next to me. They just drafted him in the first round. And I was like, interesting, because they know about the culture and they know about so that, to tie it back in is that Villanova culture is on that Knicks team. I bet the Sixers fans would swap those 3 players to have them on your team.
Totally. Now, thank you, Josh Hart. That missed free throw was big, and it gave us the opportunity to have to at least have a chance.
No doubt.
And he missed it badly. He must have been a little nervous today. He missed it bad.
It's
not really characteristic of him. But yeah, I mean, listen, this game is big time. You want to talk about the rumors going around real quick about this LeBron James rumor that's going around about the Sixers? Have you seen it?
I heard what's his name talking about it. Coward said he'd be the perfect fit.
I don't know. I really don't know. Listen,
I
admit on the pod. Obviously, I know enough about basketball to talk about it, but I don't talk about it enough to consider myself an expert. I don't know where LeBron James would fit in on this team. You would think he'd fit in great. I mean, at 39 years old, he's still doing things that he's got to be he's the best late 30s basketball player in the history of the NBA. He's clearly one of the greatest
to ever walk the planet. Period. He's the best athlete to ever walk the planet.
Wow.
Think about this, dude.
No. I listen. I'm not.
He's been doing it since 18 years old professionally. He's 40. He don't look 40.
1-13 against Denver in the playoffs. I'm just saying.
Whatever. He's not. My point is, I'm not talking about the best basketball player ever. I know. Michael Jordan's the best basketball player of all time, but LeBron James is the best athlete ever. The guy takes care of his
right. I mean, if he decided to play in the NFL, and there was this conversations back in the day, but like in his prime, had he decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to go play football. I mean, could you imagine what he'd be doing as tight end?
Everyone's like, he won't play tight end because he would get his hands on him. It'd be a little nasty. I think he'd play wide out and just be Calvin Johnson and just bully ball. The thing is, he's the best just say athlete in basketball, or just he's the best athlete ever. The guy runs, jumps, he's strong, he's physical, his body control, the passing, and then also his knowledge off the court, right? Like what he does, like community-wise, what he does, like not to get political or whatever, but like the guy gets it. The guy understands it. Like he's raised a great family. He's never had it. Has he ever got a Dewey? Has he ever had an assault chart? Like that's hard, guys. Like this is hard. I've been in these big circles with these really successful guys. Everybody's got a little bit of a rap sheet.
No, totally. Listen.
He is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, I'm not a huge LeBron guy.
Neither am I.
I'm not a huge LeBron guy. Let me ask you a question. Overall, the best athletes, are they NFL wide receivers or are they NBA? What position is the best athlete in basketball right now? I mean, I don't know if you can really say center. I would say you probably say like
point guard.
Maybe is it point guard or is it maybe like a shooting guard?
They just run so much, the body control, the stuff around the rim. And remember this, those point guards are like 6'5", 6'6" now. They're not little guys.
No, I know. No, totally. Ball control.
There's a picture of George Kittle dapping up Steph Curry, and they're the same size. And Kittle's a monster on the football field. So who's a better athlete?
Where I mean, I've had this debate in the past. It's so tough. I mean, basketball players are such unbelievable athletes, but if you look at the elite wide receivers in the NFL, I mean, even like an AJ Brown. I mean, imagine like going on a basketball court with him, and he's not a basketball player. I'm sure he can hoop. I mean,
I'll flip it. I go the other way, because to me, AJ Brown and all the rest of us wanted to be NBA players or wanted to be another sport. Very few guys, maybe
really.
Or you always played other sports as football players, and then all of a sudden you'd be like fouling out of basketball games, and you're like, okay, well maybe I should be playing football.
Yeah.
Or like maybe you're like a D1 AA basketball player, right? Like a good player, really solid. You're going to go play like at a low level D1, say, or you're going to be a top 10 receiver in the country and go play at Alabama. Yeah. You're either going to go play basketball at Northwestern, or you're going to go play football at Georgia or Alabama. You're like, oh shit. Okay. I probably am not going to be a first round pick in hoops, but I'm going to be a first round pick in football. So to me, everybody picks up a basketball and starts there, and then, or a soccer ball. Right. And then they're like, okay, like where am I? And
yeah, but where do the intangibles of an athlete, where do they come in as far as as far as being a real man. I mean, like it's almost like what separates like
basketball.
I don't know, man. You football players are warriors. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You separate, right? Like you could be a warrior. You're not as talented, right? Like, my point is these guys playing are better athletes, bounding, jumping, leaping, body control, dribbling, vision, incredible.
But where do those athletes? If a guy's an athlete and he wants to play a sport that's physical because he's a mean, tough guy, like he's also an elite athlete, but he wants that physical challenge compared to basketball, which to him might be a little bit soft, and it doesn't really fit his character. I mean, in order to be a football player, clearly you know this, you have to have that mean streak in you. You've got to be really, really tough.
You do.
And there's got to be a fine line where an athlete can go in either direction and focus his time and energy studying the craft of one or the other. But I would think that those intangibles, as far as the type of sport you're willing to play over another, that's got to factor in as far as athleticism, because you could say the same thing. Not every basketball player who's a great athlete can play in the NFL.
Yep. No doubt. I think you get your motor skills from other sports. Football is very hard to replicate. You need 11 on 11. You need 22 players. You need coaches on both sides. You need cleats. You need pads. You need helmet. You need ball. Very hard to replicate until you're older. So my point is, early on, basketball, you need a ball and a hoop. You can make the Antonio Gates reference, like, they help you with your motor skills. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, my dad's like, son, you're a solid hooper. It's time. Time.
You can't go from if you're in your mid-20s, you can't go from football, you're a football player, and now you want to jump and be a professional basketball player.
No shot.
But you can go from basketball and go to football.
If you got that bite, yeah.
Right. But it's been done, meaning it's been done. It's never been done the other way.
Yeah. Like you see guys like Antonio Gates, you see it, or Tony Gonzalez, right? Like those big athletes, some of these tight ends, Jimmy Graham, right? Like Chris Manhertz, buddy of mine, Chris Manhertz, who actually has the bite. He was a power forward, Canisius College. He's from Brooklyn, New York. Please, I think he's Brooklyn or Queens. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. And Chris is now the best blocking tight end in the NFL, or at least one of them. And it's funny because you think basketball player, like unreal hands and like jump ball, and he has some of that, but he's more of a blocker. And he never put his hand in the ground and played football until he was done at Canisius College, and the Buffalo Bills invited him to training camp. He got cut by the Bills. The Saints brought him in, and then Carolina signed him for like a couple-year deal. He's been with Jacksonville. Never played football until the NFL. So that's my point is a lot of the football players,
you can't go the other.
We're misfit toys. We're guys that didn't work out in other sports. I wanted to be a hockey player. Okay. It didn't work out. I think actually I'd be better now because I move a lot better, and part of me still wants to give it a shot, but I'm 30. It's over. So
well, there's always men's league or flag football. Huh?
Beer league. You want to talk about NHL playoffs and wrap this puppy up, or what?
Yeah, let's talk some hockey playoffs.
Dude, I mean, listen, it's the best in the world. I don't care what anybody says. You don't have to know anything about any team to know that this has, what's the word? As Torch say, it has balls. It has jam. Canucks Predators.
Talk about athletes. Don't sleep on hockey players.
I sleep on them.
They may not look the part. They may not, for the most part, the average hockey player is probably 5'11". I'd say the overall in the NHL is probably 5'11". I don't know, 190. That's
off skates, Larry. Off skates. Not
intimidating. You're saying
no, not the best athletes off skates.
Not the best athlete off skates. No, not the best athlete off skates.
I played sports with some of them. A couple guys here and there. Some, sure, they're natural, but I would say most, and I could be wrong, are just great hockey players, which is amazing. Amazing, because I'm average at everything else, right? I'm not saying I'm this great athlete. I'm just saying from playing with guys I play with, when it comes to on-land stuff, not as natural with the hands, and then on the ice, their hands are like lightning and they're top corner, and you're like, holy shit, right? So my opinion.
Okay. I mean, you're not necessarily wrong, but I'll tell you this. I'll take the 10 best. If you take the 10 best athletes in the NFL, in baseball, hockey, and basketball. Okay, 10 best in each, and you put them all on a golf course. My money's on the hockey guys.
Oh yeah, no.
That hand-eye.
Well,
that's a real talent.
Here's your problem. Here's what you're going to run into. That's a great debate. We got some great debate. This is why I love not planning, because then we don't have to force anything.
Yeah.
So you're saying you take the 10.
Top 10.
The thing
NBA, first name that comes to mind, NBA, Steph Curry, like great golfer. But like, I know so many guys in the NHL. And there's great golfers in every league. There's no question about it.
But you're saying 10.
10. I'm saying you take the top 10, then you do a big tournament.
I think football will give you a run for your money because these kickers and quarterbacks that are just chilling, not hitting anybody.
Jake Elliott's a scratch, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. These guys that don't have to hit anybody are scratch. Yeah. They're literally scratch because they don't feel like shit after practice. They're like, oh, let's go hit some balls. I literally like
that's almost cheating. In the NFL, if we're gonna do this tournament, this golf tournament, you can't use kickers. Are they really football players?
Yes, they are. I guess. I'll tell you what.
Absolutely are. I'm just kidding.
You don't want to be puckered up. Really? 60-yard line, you're puckered up out there. They don't. Jake Elliott's not puckered up.
Nah, totally.
Yeah,
but I can tell you this. I mean, hockey players as a whole, they're unbelievable.
What about drinking?
Huh?
They take 10 of the best drinkers in each league.
It's not even close. Hockey wins guaranteed.
Yeah, they do.
That's a sport, right? Drinking.
Well, again, you're dealing with some big boys now. My buddy Bradley Bozeman. He's 6'5", 330. He deletes them.
I'll tell you another great story. This one I don't think we can clip and put on social, but I'll talk about it on the pod here. This is great. We're going back here. Let's see. We're going to go back here about 13 years or so, 13, 14 years. Eric Nystrom, who we just did a podcast with last week, unbelievable chugger. You can give him a jug of beer, right? And when he pounds beers, he has that ability to open up his throat and just pours down. Professional. There's another guy who is elite at doing the same thing. We're going back again to talk about my boy Sidney Crosby.
Oh, really?
Yes.
When he goes, huh?
He can drink, and he can drink fast. And we're all going back and forth. And finally, I'm like, let's have a match right now. We're at a party. We're all at a party. Me, Nystrom, Crosby, and a bunch of other people. And they literally had a chug off. And yeah, Nye beat him. Eric Nystrom is a world-class chugger. I guess he learned it at the University of Michigan is what he claims. But he can drink. But yeah, go back to Sidney Crosby here. Crosby can drink too. I could never do that. I'm not a big drinker. I can't let it kind of flow down my throat like that. Can you? You look like the kind of guy that can do it. Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, I'd be a humble brag, No.
No, well, fuck. Colin Thompson, Irishman, tight end, football player. It's a rite of passage.
I'm the guy that, listen, I'll be honest. I'm the guy who I'm an all-day guy. You know what I'm saying? So I got the beers. If we have beers at lunch, if we have beers at lunch and then we keep it rolling, maybe a little margarita to mix it up and then back to beers and then maybe margarita to finish the night. Like that's I will roll that from, I'd say 1 o'clock till 1 o'clock.
I'm the kind of guy where I need
a sprinter.
I'm a sprinter. I've always been. Everything I do is hard and fast. But yeah, I sometimes need a little help if I'm going to do an all day type deal. But yeah, let's talk real quick. And then we'll finish this up. Let's talk about some of these hockey playoffs, these series.
What's your favorite round, Larry? What's your favorite matchup?
My favorite matchup, great question. My favorite matchup has to be, it's got to be Dallas Vegas, but neck and neck is Bruins Leafs, just because I love watching the Leafs lose, and they just won a big game without Jesus Christ, without Matthews last game. So big game tomorrow night or tonight. I'm sorry. But the Vegas Dallas, that series is unbelievable. Both of those teams are maybe I mean, you could make an argument that both of those teams are literally the top 4 best teams in the NHL. Vegas was hurt, a lot of the season. And so, which is why they kind of slid down in the standings there. That series is incredible. Vegas goes into Dallas, wins game 1 and 2, goes back to Vegas. They drop both games at home. Then they go back to Dallas last night or 2 nights ago, and they lose, which is shocking. I mean, to beat Vegas 3 in a row is very, very hard to do. A lot of my friends like Dallas to win the Stanley Cup. I had Vegas winning the Stanley Cup. I think Vegas gets it done in Dallas. There's an old saying in the NHL, the hardest game to win is the elimination game. And I think Vegas is going to bring their A game. I'm a big Jack Eichel guy. He's a good friend of mine. I expect a big night out of him. I expect them to win that game and go 7, which will be very, very exciting. I think that series goes 7. And I want to see the Leafs lose so bad. I don't think Matthews is going again. Incredible that they won without him. Let's talk Carolina Hurricanes, New York Islanders. I was pulling for the Islanders. They lost 4-1. Bob Bortuzzo, enjoy your summer. I know you're coming out to California soon to go golfing. I can't wait to see you.
There is no better feeling. Listen, let me make this clear. After you get over the thought of losing, in my opinion, as a player, now that will never go away. It always hurts you, right? It sucks losing. It sucks this season end. It does. But if you are healthy and you are heading into the offseason and you've been grinding for the last 10 months, there's no better feeling than getting on that flight, heading out to see your boys for some good times.
Yeah. We've already been going back and forth. We've got a little group chat there.
Oh, yeah.
He's excited. And he actually has made many comments to me. He really believes he's going to end up a Philadelphia Flyer. There's nothing in the world I want more than for that to happen. He's perfect fit for Philadelphia. He's tough, big, experienced, won a cup. I would love to see the Flyers sign Robert Bortuzzo, a nice 1-year deal. He's a great locker room guy. There's not a guy I've ever met in my life that doesn't like him. I think that's exactly what the Flyers need. Bolster up their D-line, their blue line a little bit. I'm really praying that happens. But yeah, Bobo, can't wait to see you. Jets lose 4-1 in the series to Colorado. Colorado's another team. They are absolutely disgustingly nasty. Cale Makar is a generational player, one of the best players in the NHL. For anybody out there who doesn't really watch too much hockey to understand what Cale Makar brings to the table, I mean, a right-handed D-man who can move the puck. He can skate. He's compared to Bobby Orr, a lot of comparisons to Bobby Orr. This kid is absolutely electric. And then, of course, Nathan McKinnon is also a generational type player. Colorado's incredible. They move on.
How about the perfect guy that they brought in at the deadline and Sean Walker to fit their pace of play? I mean, he's the
Joffrey Lupul reached out to me. He reached out to me about a week ago. He said, "Hey, Flowers, why the hell did the Flyers get rid of Sean Walker?" Now I explained to him he's a UFA and they had to get something back for him. But being someone that doesn't watch a lot of Flyers hockey lately, he watches the big nationally televised games and stuff, but he's like, this Sean Walker is one hell of a player. So yeah, no, totally. He's exactly what they needed.
He may go back to Philly now. Like
he could.
He's a free agent and they may have to pay him a bunch of money. The problem is he'll end up being a Duck because they're going to have all the cap space and they're going to give him a bag, he'll be somewhere with a bunch of cap space, but I digress.
We'll see. And then the last series is Nashville, enormous win in their last game against Vancouver. I'm pulling for Nashville. Ryan O'Reilly, the fact daddy, Roman Yossi, old friend of mine. I'm pulling for that team. I've got some other buddies on that team, but those two guys are really good friends of mine. And I like how Nashville plays. Roman Yossi he was having as good a season as anyone in the NHL. There's a lot of, in fact, I had this conversation with Cody yesterday, who again, he's one of my best friends, knows more about hockey than maybe even any GM in the NHL. He's that guy.
MVP, baby.
He thinks that technically Roman Yossi, he believes Roman Yossi is the most valuable player to his team compared to any other single player in the NHL. He thinks you take Roman Yossi off that team, they're not even close to a playoff team where there's other guys where you can, even you take McDavid off, you still got Draisaitl. Obviously, they're not the same team. But yeah, Roman Yossi has had an incredible season. And I'm pulling for Nashville. And then there's the Oilers. Kings series that just ended last night. My second team, the LA Kings, they just could not match the speed. The Edmonton Oilers have the best power play in the history of the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to watch Connor McDavid and how he's progressed in his career and how he's evolved into this dish first type of player, because everyone knows that he can take over a game at any time. He could put up as many goals as he really wants in a season. But the way he's been dishing and the way Draisaitl finishes, if you're taking a penalty against the Edmonton Oilers, it's almost guaranteed they're going to score. I mean, I think their percentages is like over 50% right now, which is absolutely unheard of. Do not take penalties against the Edmonton Oilers. That team also, listen, if Skinner holds up, if their netminder, if their goalkeepers hold up, they can make a run. I'm always a little bit critical about the Edmonton Oilers. I just think that they're top heavy type team. But I think they've made some good moves. And, if they get a lot of production out of Evander Kane and some of the other, role players, and Hyman has had an incredible season. Shout out Zach Hyman. What a player. I love watching him play. He plays the game the right way. If you look at his goal charts, everything is right in the crease. What a season he's had. But Edmonton's another team to really watch out for. So the NHL playoffs have been absolutely electric. If you're not a big hockey fan and you're interested in watching some hockey, the playoffs is where you start. There's just nothing like it. I've said this for years. You watch an NFL football game in the playoffs compared to the regular season. It's pretty much the same game. And when I say that, what I mean by that is you can only play football one way, and that's hard and fast. There's only one way to play it.
You will get hurt if you do not. John Runyon would always say, if you go slow, you will get hurt because you won't match the tempo of everybody else, and you'll just have some weird things happen to you. Totally. It's happened to me.
Right. Baseball, same thing. Obviously, the intensity level goes up on every sport in the playoffs. There's no question about that. But the game is only played one way.
Yeah.
Right. Pitcher, hitter. Basketball intensity goes up. It changes a little, but it's not a physical sport anymore.
You're right. You can hit in hockey. They're fighting. It's
in
chaos.
Hockey. You can take a game over physically.
Yes.
And with the exception of, you don't want to be out of position. You don't want to hit a guy just to hit a guy, and then all of a sudden you're caught. But in the NHL playoffs, if you watch that compared to regular season, and they play hard during the regular season, but if you watch playoff hockey, these guys are out there killing themselves. They get their faces mashed. They get their fingers broken. They play through everything. They fight tooth and nail not to miss a shift, even if they're hurt. They're blocking shots. There is nothing like playoff hockey. It is the greatest single sport in the world. And these playoffs have been phenomenal. And I'm excited to see how things unfold.
Caps got swept. I called that. Several people owe me a steak dinner on that one. Ovi puttered around. It looks like he was really out of shape and beat up. Could be injured.
Listen, the Caps, they just barely snuck in. They're decent.
I think the Flyers would have put up a better fight. I think that's probably a 5 or 6 game series the Flyers are in, 100%.
I said the same thing. I made a little joke to my boy Keith Cohn, who's their family is part of the ownership group for the Caps. I made a little joke. Hey man, don't be so sad. It could be worse. You could have lost 5-0 in the series. I think that listen, the Rags are loaded. Laviolette always has a good impact his first year, second year, third year before he's kind of message runs a little dry, and they're absolutely loaded top to bottom with players. Yep. And then the final series, Florida, Tampa, very shocking to me. I actually had Tampa going really deep, if not the finals. I think they were built for the playoffs. Also had the injury bug throughout the season. They've got incredible veterans. They've got an elite roster. Florida wasn't playing that great to end the season. I thought Tampa would put up a bigger fight. I mean, it's not like they didn't play well. Listen, the NHL is a game can change very quickly with a tip puck and one goal here. There's so many variables. That was still a really good series, but I'm shocked to see Tampa go out 4-1 in that series, and they're going home. We'll see what happens with Steven Stamkos, free agent coming up. I think he can basically pick and choose where he wants to go. Does he want to take more money and go elsewhere, or does he want to stay where his family has roots and his kids are there and take less money, maybe take $5 million a year and stay in Tampa. Who knows? Tax-free state. There's a lot of variables. Stammer's a great guy, unbelievable hockey player. I've known him for a long time as well. I'm very interested in seeing what happens with him.
Who's a team on the outside of the top 4 teams in the NHL looking to get a veteran, proven stud? They're going to make a push for him. And especially if it's a team in a non-state income tax state with some cap money. Now, I don't know who they are cap-wise, but Dallas,
I mean,
Dallas talks to me. Nashville talks to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like those teams that are on the outside looking in, like where, again, tax-wise, they can still pay them, right? X, instead of, hey, listen, Toronto's after you and you're going to lose 50% of your money.
You wouldn't go to Toronto. He's from there. I don't think he'd go there, but.
Yeah. So my point is, if you throw the bag at them, and somehow, some way but who knows? Finances.
But I don't think Stammer's the kind of guy that's just all about dollars and cents. He's made a fucking fortune. He's made a lot of money. I think he wants to win. I think he wants to go in the best, what's best for his family.
He carried that team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a hell of a player. The Flyers are going to have some big, they're going to have some opportunities to make some splashes. We'll see what they do. But yeah, I mean, playoff hockey tonight's no different. Big night tonight. Bruins, Maple Leafs, Sixers, Knicks. I mean, let's go. Let's go, Sixers. We cannot lose this game at home. Not to the Knicks.
Prediction time here. We have one series that's set for next round, if you will. You got Canes versus the Rangers.
Oh, yes.
What do you think, buddy? 2 great head coaches. 2 teams with lots of depth, both goaltenders are playing well. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I really think the Rangers have a hell of a team. They're so balanced. They're big. They're strong. They got great goaltending. It's going to be a hell of a series. For anyone to be able to predict that series with a straight face is probably lying to you or just guessing. But Carolina has so much firepower. They don't have a weakness. Freddie Anderson, shout out Freddie Anderson, their goalkeeper, also a longtime friend of mine. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Jake Gunsel. I obviously I'm never going to root for a New York guy or a New York team if I don't have to. But the New York Rangers are a wagon. I think they are. I think there's a reason why they won the President's Trophy this year. They're built well. They're built strong. That's how you win in the playoffs. And that's a series I can truly see going 6 or 7.
Okay. Larry, we hit on a lot today.
We hit on a lot.
And we had a lot of fun debates. I'm interested to see how they're going to be taken online with who would win in a drinking competition, who would win in golf, who are the best athletes. So,
where are the best athletes in sports? Wide receiver or the NBA? Great topic. We'll talk. We'll come back to that a little bit. All right.
Larry Flowers, fair but firm.
My boy, thanks for your time as always. That was great. We'll talk till next time, right?
That's right. Cheers, guys.